I do the 2 here and the 3 there. Oh yeah, but then I'm not going to be able to blah, blah, blah. Like this internal monologue is going, and everyone else is just waiting. They're waiting, and they don't care. The game has no tension. Maybe you could say that's the whole spirit of the game. It's creature comforts. You're like resting on a mountain lodge. You're taking life slowly. Not only does the animal-themed artwork, pleasant, peaceful setting, and non-combative gameplay lend itself to comparisons to popular games like Everdell and Wingspan, but Creature Comforts actually contains internal references to those games in its artwork. So in this video, I'll talk briefly about how you play the game, what my reaction was to the game, and we'll find out whether or not the game is a brilliant addition to your animal-themed board game collection or simply riding on the coattails of prior successes. And as I go into the gameplay, if you're interested in the shirt that I'll be wearing in this video, this is actually hand-drawn by myself, and it's a very comfortable polyester and spandex t-shirt. If you'd like to buy your own shirt, you can do that at the Perfect Board Game website at theperfectboardgame.myshopify.com with links in the description. Thanks for taking a look at that. So let's talk about how to play Creature Comforts. Creature Comforts is a pretty simple game. Each player has 4 workers and 2 dice in their player color. The players have a player board where they're going to be building out their vacation home and all of the comforts that can be found there. This is very similar to the tableau that you build in Everdell, with the exception that while in Everdell you can play cards that have characters or buildings in them, in this game there are 2 types of cards you can play. There are comforts and then there are buildings, which you are limited to only 4, but unlimited in the number of comforts you can have. Each one of these has victory points and special bonus points that you can get if you meet certain criteria on each of the cards. Shared by all players is a main player board with several different action spaces available and a pool of resources, as well as 4 white dice. Now, the game is played over several rounds, and the length of the game can vary based on the preference of the players. When I played the short version of the game, and I think it felt just right. It would be hard to imagine playing the longer version. Anyway, in each round, there are going to be different seasonal actions that are available, as well as a new visitor to the valley who each player will be able to benefit from and gain an extra action from. At the beginning of each round, every player is going to roll their own 2 player dice, and they know that later they're going to be able to roll 4 white dice, which they can use to support their workers' actions. Anyway, at the beginning of the round, you've only rolled your own 2 dice, and you're not going to get 4 more dice until after you place your workers. So players do this, placing workers and locations on the board that they think might work, and then once everyone has finished, the 4 white dice are rolled. Then, in player order, each player takes the 4 white dice in combination with their 2 player dice and executes the actions in any order they see fit. When they're all done, they pass the 4 white dice to the next player, who does not re-roll them, and that player does exactly the same thing. As far as the actions are concerned, they are going to be different based on the seasons that are revealed for that specific game, but they largely revolve around taking resources from the supply, converting resources, and using resources to buy cards. Some of the cards can give special effects, like there are some cards that will create a new action space, some cards that will get bonus points if you manage to build other cards that are specified on the card text, or special abilities such as giving the player the ability to move their worker after the white dice have already been rolled, or giving a player the ability to modify one of the white dice. Now, the game is not very combative at all, but to make it even less so, after each player's turn, all of the card markets that they've taken from are refreshed for the next player. So while it's possible that one player can interfere with another player by taking a card that that person may have been planning on taking, once the cards are refreshed, there's no telling what can come off the deck, and it could be very likely that another even better card could be revealed. So it doesn't really seem very strategic to spend your turns thinking about how you can steal from other players. This is a very isolated game, a game where you get to focus on your own plan, build the cards that are interesting to you, and capitalize on the resources and the luck that comes your way. Final thoughts. I did not like this game. This was not a game for me. However, I understand who this game is for. So before I go into my own criticisms of the game, let me describe the things that the game does well and why you might want to buy this game. This is a game that feels very zen. You get to focus on what you want to do, and you don't really have to worry about what your opponents are doing. There can be some interference. It has such a little impact, and there's so much luck involved that it can be very relaxing. I think I would call this game relaxing. It's so friendly. At one point in the game I said, this game feels like we're having tea together. And there was consensus about that. So why do I dislike the game? Kind of dislike it for the same reason I might like it. Because the game is very isolating. There are very few games that I've played where I just don't care about what anybody else is doing. There are very few reasons for why you might care. One example is there's a card called the writing desk that if you build it, gives you points if your opponents have cards that have lamps on them. So you're looking at other players, you're saying, who has lamps? Okay, there's a few lamps there. I'll get the writing desk. So you kind of have to look a little bit, but the game is just so peaceful that I didn't care about anybody else. Maybe this would be a game that I would play by myself. And if I did, I would feel exactly the same way as if I was playing with people. The only problem is the process of placing the dice. So you roll your colored dice, then you roll the white dice, and then you got to figure out what actions are going to be done and how things are going to take place. And you sit there thinking, sometimes you get these tokens that will allow you to modify the dice. So you end up thinking, okay, well, if I do this and I add the token, I can change this 5 to a 4, and then I can do that. And then, well, maybe how can I do the 2 here and the 3 there? Oh yeah, but then I'm not going to be able to do, like this internal monologue is going, and everyone else is just waiting. They're waiting and they don't care. The game has no tension. It was so just slow. It was so slow. Now, maybe you could say, that's the whole spirit of the game. It's creature comforts. You're like resting on a mountain lodge. You're taking life slowly. That's why I understand who this game is for. This game is for people who want to play a game that lets them slow down. They can just sip tea and... I'm criticizing it. Like, I shouldn't be. The game has mastered going slow. If you want a game that lets you go slow, you should play this game. If you want a game that is interesting, you should not play this game because the game is so slow, it's not interesting. What does the game accomplish, though? The artwork, the environment. This does a fantastic job of making you feel comfortable. And it's called Creature Comforts. Like, I had a card, and the card had board games on it, and I was like, oh, I've got the board game card. I want to play this card. Why? I mean, I got 7 points. I didn't care about the points. I just played it because I liked it. It just looked pretty to me. I don't really like games that that are just pretty. I shouldn't come down on it so hard. The game accomplishes what it wants to accomplish. It's a relaxing game. Creature Comforts is the name of the game. The way I see it, there is very little about the gameplay that I think really stands out. I think that if you compare it to Everdell, which I think is the best comparison, well, maybe Wingspan is a better comparison, but Wingspan has more stuff going on. This has a very Everdell feel. Get resources to buy cards, put the cards in front of you, and then use some of the abilities on the cards to hopefully help you have more effective turns in the future. That's basically what you're doing. But Everdell, thematically, doesn't fulfill any of what I expect from Everdell. You don't feel like you're building a village. You feel like you're kind of building an engine, maybe, but it doesn't really feel like a village-building game. In this game, somehow, the designers did a great job of making it feel like you are building yourself a vacation home. You just get attached to it. You're like, oh, I've got the pie card. I love pie. I can't wait to play the pie card. It doesn't matter that the pie card is worth how many points, and you get more points if you get cherries, or maybe who cares? Why are you playing the pie card? Because you like pie, and because you're relaxed, because it's quiet, because no one's watching what I'm doing, because they're not involved, because the game has no interaction at all, and I just want to eat pie. and I want to have preserves, and I want to have board games and toys, and you're just playing things that make you happy, but it's not a serious game. Dice and cards and who knows what's going to happen. Relaxing game. I don't know. Personally, I think this is riding on the on a trend that was set by Wingspan and Everdell, and like, hey, there's so many people who are interested in this like animal themed games. Let's just make another one, and we'll just make it so average, but people won't be able to tell because it'll be so pretty. They'll think it's in with these elite games. That's how I feel about it. On the other hand, my biggest criticism of Everdell and Wingspan is that thematically they are dull. They fall flat. They have interesting gameplay, but they just don't make me feel anything. This game does make me feel something. It's not something I'm interested in feeling when I play board games. I don't want to feel relaxed. I want to feel engaged mentally. I want to feel like I have something to focus on. But if you're trying to, again, just relax. This is a very relaxing, peaceful game, and I think it probably deserves credit for that. So for theme, it's probably a good middle high. So 6, 7 for theme. For mechanics, yeah, I don't like playing the game, but I have to be objective with this, right? Even though I don't really like it that much, the mechanics are handled very well. It's probably like an 8. See how fair I'm being? For the components, we played the Kickstarter version. I thought it was extraordinary, but probably like a 9. And then I think when they bring out like regular editions of the game, it's a little bit lower than that. Strategy is very low because it's a lot of luck, very tactical, like a 3 for strategy, and complexity, 4. So those are my thoughts on the game. If you like the review, stick around for more. I'm coming out with stuff all the time. But anyway, don't forget to check out the t-shirt at the website, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.